Brian,
All right, I'm back.
how's it going, dude?
Good. How are you?
Great, great. So I was actually going to do this while you were traveling because it was a good opportunity for me to live stream solo. But um, I've been a little bit nervous about this one.
Okay.
And I actually spoke with Dagan Smith a few months ago. Um, we were talking through invisible funnel stuff, and he was like, dude, you really need to tell people this story. And I was like, oh, I don't know. He's like, dude, seriously, you got to tell people about how messed up you got and how you dug yourself out of it. And so that's what today's live stream is about. And Brian, I know you've been through a great deal of difficulty in your life as well, different types,
Yes.
as human beings, that's part of the deal with being alive, but it's also part of the deal with being an entrepreneur, right? Sometimes the challenges that are thrown at us are business challenges and they are entrepreneurial challenges, but sometimes they're life challenges. And that's what I want to talk about today. So my most popular live stream ever was several years ago, and it was about my divorce. And I remember I was just I just decided to talk about it a little bit, and I totally started bawling. I was just like crying my eyes out, and it was my most popular live stream ever. It wasn't intended to be, I didn't do one of those vulnerability posts, but apparently I did, right?
I'll have to ask you more about that after the story, or maybe you'll tell it as part of the story. But part of what I want to do is get a little bit of my personal story out there as well, and that's my biggest fear. Is I know that the tears are just going to fly out uncontrollably, so I have to be prepared to deal with that.
Yeah, so that's okay. I think that's probably the most okay thing is the lesson, right? Like the more you can emotionally connect with people, that's the lesson. The more you can emotionally connect with people in a non-threatening way, right? I mean, like caveat, in a non-threatening way, the more they're going to want to engage with you and trust you and feel like there's some sort of connection because lo and behold, there is, right? And so for those of you that don't know, I got divorced a few years ago, and I was in a relationship for 22 years with the mother of my children. And when we split up, it was not something that I wanted, and I was devastated. Like I was crushed into a little bloody smear on the sidewalk. I was not expecting it in a million years, and like I had no idea how emotionally codependent I was. I was I'd been in a relationship with this woman since I was 19 years old, and so learning how to become a single dad, learning how to like run my business, run my life, and like run my own internal emotional show and feel really good about myself and how I was doing, even if I was getting like really not entirely positive feedback from someone who had previously been a major emotional support in my life. Perhaps, it messed me up. I got so depressed. I got so sad. I got so unmotivated. I felt so purposeless. I felt like such a failure as a human being. And it was like, I basically like cried for 2.5 years. It was just like destroyed. I was so messed up. So it was a 4-year-long divorce process. And for most of that, I was just an emotional jellyfish. So different than the way that I'm used to feeling and behaving and showing up in life. And I'm a hypnotist. I'm a successful entrepreneur. I've been through a lot of difficult things. I put myself through a lot of difficult things, and I could not shake this. I could not shake the dread, the depression, the failure, just like the feeling so down and so bad. And guys, if you have similar stories or you have questions about any of this, I know it's kind of like personal, but like you can totally ask me, and assuming it's not invading anyone's privacy, I'll happily answer any questions you want to throw at me. But like, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19. Actually, that's really interesting. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19, and I actually started my first business on my first date with my now ex-wife. And what I didn't realize until I just said it just now, that my identity as an entrepreneur was directly tied to my relationship because we started the business together. Right? It was Tellman Salsa. And so I had, wow, that's an interesting realization, right? Like that's a big deal. And so anyway, I had to go through this whole like rediscovery process where I had to essentially find myself again at all these levels and feel good about myself as a single individual. And I did not feel good about myself as a single individual. And I couldn't get myself out of bed in the morning. I started drinking too much. Like I started exercising not enough, and went through several waves of this, like all of the stuff, that happens when you get all messed up. And it was classic midlife crisis moment. And, I'm in my 40s. I'm just about actually tomorrow, I'm turning 46 years old, Brian.
Happy birthday.
And, I was just like, I was so emotionally devastated that I couldn't bring myself to think about business in a creative or enthusiastic way. And my whole life, my business has been its success. And this is partially due to inexperience, partially due to just me not paying attention to it enough, whatever. My business has always been very directly connected to my own degree of being on point. Like when I'm on point, my business makes tons of money. When I'm not on point, my business does not make tons of money. And so I was in this situation where my business was falling apart. My life had fallen apart. Finances were a mess. Like I didn't even know how to go grocery shopping. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I literally wasn't used to grocery shopping. And all this stuff. And so, and of course, plus COVID, right? So it was like, everything was crazy. I was really depressed. I was purposeless, and I had no motivation or inspiration to create anything new, to write a new sales letter, to create a new product, to do a new webinar, to come out with a new course, to create a new membership, to start a new list, to build a new business. I had no drive. All of my enthusiasm, my energy, my normal entrepreneurial, like I normally have a fairly high degree of unbridled entrepreneurial power ready to draw on every day. The well was dry, and I was getting really worried about money and my ability to hold the business together and for the business to continually generate revenue and all these things. And because I wasn't creating anything new, I wasn't being social because we were all at home, and I wasn't traveling because I wanted to be spending time with my kids and all this stuff. Basically, I really disconnected from the business world for a few years, and I was emotionally withdrawn. I was financially shrinking, and I didn't have a clear direction or purpose for what was next. And I couldn't fool myself. I wasn't able to just be like, oh, come on, buddy, get out of bed in the morning and get to work. Like, it's not how it works, right? Or at least that's not how it was working for me. And so what I did was, you have to understand that in 2003, I started building my email list and learning about building my email list. In 2004, 2005, my email list was in full swing. By 2006, we were ramping up, building a multi-million-dollar company, teaching email marketing and list building stuff. 2007, 2008, like at that point, 2009, we had generated over 250,000 customers, paying customers that we taught email marketing and list building to. Ended up building not one multi-million-dollar information marketing empire and half a dozen other side businesses and other niches that for the most part were profitable. And we were on fire. We were just kicking ass and taking names, and we built this massive, massive email list. And then in 2010, I shut all of that down for numerous reasons. Part was the economy, part was the grand collapse of Run Tellman Run, and ultimately like the financial implosion of my company. And then overcome everything, quickly shrunk, and everyone was dispersed. But then we started a new company, and the new company that we started was called the New Hypnotists. And I used the old marketing list as a fuel source for the New Hypnotists. And immediately we had a new 7-figure business. But that went on, and my hypnosis business went on for quite a few years, for 12 years, as a matter of fact. And the majority of everything I sold online was online money mindset, entrepreneurial wealth hypnosis stuff with the New Hypnotists, which then became Be Way Better, which then I acquired. And so after all of that, I ended up selling money mindset, entrepreneurial hypnosis stuff to this somewhat entrepreneurial personal development list that I had grown over time. And that was my list. And I now found myself unmotivated, unable to get out of bed in the morning, feeling like a failure, financially uncertain business, like all these bad things were happening. And I was unable to like get through it with grace. And I managed to do one thing. And it took me about 3 minutes twice a day. And it got me through. It changed everything. It restabilized my financial situation. It made the business relevant again in the marketplace. It gave me a platform for numerous other joint ventures and springboards that we then created. And that one thing that I started doing every day, and very, very quickly moved to twice a day, was I started recycling old emails. And I sent them to my old list. And I sold them my old products. And I started sending emails from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Almost complete recycling, and very few situations where you need minor edits, minor modifications, because I had an email list, and it saved my life. It saved my business. It paid the bills, and it fed my kids when I was depressed, when I was unable to show up for the business. My list got us through it. And that's no joke. So if you are a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you've ever experienced the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, the ups and downs of life, and it's impacted your income for your business, then my biggest lesson and my biggest piece of advice to you would be, when's the best time to start building your list, Brian? I mean, yesterday, right?
Yep.
Last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. When's the second best time to start building your list? Today. And so if you want to learn how to build your email list and really master the skill so that you have a financial, it's kind of like a golden net. It's a golden safety net, that you can draw on and should draw on a regular and consistent basis. When everything else goes sideways in your business, if you have an email list and you've taken the time to slowly create new offers for that list, whether they're yours or affiliate offers, and you nurture and focus on growing that list, it will save you so much in so many ways and create so much certainty, so much stability, so much consistency, so much recurring income. It's the number one thing. It is the most important thing in your online business, bar none, is building your list and really learning how to communicate and connect with it and sell the products and services to that list that they want in order to grow and succeed in your niche, in your market, in your area. So that's the story of how this one thing, this one foundational simple thing got me through the worst moments, literally the worst time of my life. The reason I didn't go bankrupt, the reason I didn't lose everything, the reason I'm still here is because I had built that list. And I've been teaching people how to build email lists since 2003. All of the money that I've made has been from email lists that I've built, and or me and my team have written emails to and managed for 20 years. So if you'd like to learn email marketing from a 20-year veteran in the space, I would love to chat with you about you, your financial goals, and your business, and see if building an email list would be right for what you're working on right now. If that sounds like a skill you want to learn, then I'd be more than happy to chat with you about it. You can get on our early bird list by going to www.mascotland.com/early-bird. You have to do the www. It's wicked antiquated. www.mascotland.com/early-bird. You can opt into our early bird list, read the letter that I wrote for you on the next page. It's very short, and it will describe exactly the kind of people that we're looking for. If that sounds like you, then you're welcome to book a call with me in the next 72 hours. We get on the phone, have a chat about what does or doesn't make sense in terms of learning email marketing and list building and really getting that list off to the right start here in 2023. So Brian, and anyone else, if you guys have questions about any of this, please ask them. Happy to answer from a financial perspective, from an emotional perspective, from a relationship perspective, from a parental perspective, like from a eccentric weirdo perspective, whatever you're into. So what's up, Brian? What do you have in your mind?
It's the two things. I mean, obviously, we always talk about the importance of email, the benefits of email, and how it's like the best thing since sliced bread. Honestly, I like email better than sliced bread. I think it might be better than sliced bread.
Dude, I'm going to send out an email from
sliced
bread. And then it's going to say, what's better than? Oh, it's going to say, what's better than first name? ? Yep.
The other thing I want to mention is we were talking about repurposing those emails you had. If you haven't already, we recently did an interview with Colin Theriot. And
Therio.
I say every time I get the first name wrong, the last name. One day I'll get them both.
We're going to interview Kurt Molly next.
Oh, nice. So, but look around somewhere on this page or in this interface, you'll see that interview. He talked a lot about, once you've written so much stuff or created so much content, you can start. He actually described it as plagiarizing yourself.
That's right. It's totally true.
Purposing that content. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. He's like, I wrote blah, 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 blah 2 years ago, and I just reread it, and it's more accurate now than it was when I wrote it. Check this out. Like, it's great. It's great. So having that list, it's like the ultimate safety net for your business, right? And for your income. There are all sorts of other advantages to it as well. The fact that you can build an autoresponder sequence and people can join your list, and you literally can be making money while you sleep without ever doing any social media posts, as an example, right? That's entirely true. And so, Brian, what are your thoughts on, I don't know, difficulty and email lists? I don't know. Do you have anything to respond to all the madness with?
All the madness.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Ultimately, though, you just have to and I'll talk about this on a future podcast. But I've had my fair share of difficulties. I had early in my life, I had a major financial setback. More recently, I had a major health setback. Extremely challenging, extremely difficult. But ultimately, you just have to push through and find a way to make it work. You could give up. That's another option too.
You could give up.
You could.
That's right.
I've thought about that many times, but ultimately, you just got to push through.
Just push through.
Just push.
It's good
through.
advice, Brian. It's good advice. But seriously, guys, if you've ever had any difficulty in your business and in your life where you showing up and being there and being present was taken away for any reason, it could be a physical injury, could be an emotional challenge, it could be a life setback, it could be an economic challenge like the real threat of a real recession. All of these things dramatically impact our bottom line. And if you have no way to connect with your people in a way that they're used to buying from you with and immediately generating more revenue when those challenging things happen, good luck. You're out. So email and getting good at building an email list and good at email marketing really it's a type of insurance for your business. Maybe that's what we should do, Brian. Maybe we should sell email marketing the same way people sell insurance for their business.
I'll have to think about how to make that work.
I could talk to Carrie.
One thing I want to do, I'm going to go on a soapbox for just a minute.
Do it. Step up on.
Talk about we need more of what you just did on social media. Here we are talking about your divorce. We're talking about how you were depressed. We talked about how you had major financial setbacks. One of the biggest problems, I think, today in society and with things like what we're doing right now with social media is everyone's just always talking about, look at how great this is. Look how great my life is.
That's
Everything's
right.
perfect.
That's
and it really is creating a lot of psychological problems. There are studies that validate that social media is causing more and more people to become more and more depressed because we're really not being authentic on social media when we're only showing the good stuff, not talking about the bad. I would challenge more people, including myself, to do what you just did, and that's to show up with your authentic self. And if you have bad stuff to talk about and share, that can be really helpful for other people, that they can connect and relate to the idea that nobody's perfect and nobody's, crushing it the way they want to portray themselves on social media.
That's true, but there's also a very real danger, right? Hey, Michael, what's up, dude? The danger is that like people are like, okay, I'll show up and be my authentic self, and then they're a total asshole, right? They show up and they're a jerk. They show up and they're just angry at someone. I have a few friends in the internet marketing space who throughout COVID and recent political changes have gotten very, very aggressive in their beliefs and spewing their beliefs all over social media in a way that makes them look crazy and stupid. And so there's something about it's still tricky. Even though I'm showing up on social media, I want to point out, like, even though I don't have perfect lighting and I don't have a perfect studio, like, I absolutely set up the shot. There's a extra mic over here, and there's not like a bunch of like messy things behind me because I have to constantly clean off the back table over here to make it look good for when I do videos, right? Like, and I've recently been doing videos upstairs in the guest room because it looks cooler, right?
Yep.
And what I shared was true. Divorce, the ensuing depression afterward, my financial ups and downs, like what got me through all of that was mailing my list every day and then mailing it twice a day and mailing old offers and recycling old emails. And that is absolutely what got me through because I had that insurance policy in place, because I had already built that list up, right? But I'm also only sharing something that I learned a valuable and important lesson from. And I'm also sharing it is a story that would be hopefully valuable and inspirational to other online entrepreneurs versus the million other people that could be and probably are watching this video, right? And the moral of the story is build your email list. I just so happen to sell a training program on how to build a wildly profitable and responsive email list. Like, that's all a setup, right? And so it's like, the more open and authentic and vulnerable you can be in a certain sense, the better. That's true. But you do need to think about whether or not the message that you're conveying is going to turn out to be something that's inspirational and educational for your audience, or whether it's just going to make you look like a dumbass. Because, and sometimes you think it's going to be inspirational, educational, and you end up putting your foot in your mouth and you end up looking like a dumbass, whether you like it or not. Like, that happens too, right?
Yep.
But it's important to realize that if you're going to be broadcasting in any form, whether it's a video, an email, a podcast, a webinar, or whatever, that you are, by taking that step forward, you're stepping forward as a leader in the industry, right? You're stepping forward as an icon, and that demands a certain amount of like self-respect on your part, right? What are your thoughts on this, Brian?
Yeah, I agree. I think ultimately we agree in everything we're saying. The idea of like, if you want to be strategic about it, I probably agree with that as well. I probably at some point, I don't know if we were saying this on camera or not, so I'll repeat it in case this was like off camera. But at some point, I do want to get my story out there.
You want to do that right now?
No, I don't.
Oh, look at the hesitation! Look at the hesitation.
Well, that's part. So I think that goes with what you're saying, though, right? So when I do, so I am going to be authentic in the story. I am going to tell the story. But I also, there is also some strategy behind it as well. Is that bad or good? I don't think it's bad. I think it's good. But yeah, exactly what you're saying. And that's the whole idea. Ultimately, well, what is the purpose of me? Am I just telling my story just to have people hear a story? Or am I using it as a way to also help people maybe get inspired or motivated from that? And maybe further like a narrative that I want to tell. So,
I don't think that this is actually so much about social media, though. And here's why, is that we show up differently for like, oh, cool. I got 5 minutes, Brian, because I got a demo. You want to hear what I got a demo with?
What's the demo on?
Clickback. Now, Clickback is a service that claims you can send email to a purchase list. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a purchase list, but I do have a big old list of customers that's very old, and that might as well be a purchase list. They all know me, but like, it's a list of really old, and so I'm going to do a demo with them and see what their software can do and what the pricing structure is.
All right.
It's going to be good.
I look forward to hearing more about that.
We do all show up on social media in a certain way, right? But like, the way we show up on LinkedIn is different than the way we show up on Facebook, is different than YouTube for a lot of people. Like right now, we happen to be broadcasting on all of those simultaneously. But if we were going to do individual content pieces for the individual platforms, the vibe would be different. The types of images we would choose would be different. What we might wear would be different. Whether we do, how we do the videos might be different. Obviously, there's like short form, long form, all the stuff, right? But one thing that I find very interesting is that even if you're completely non-religious in every way, which is fine with me, when you show up to church, you show up in a different way. Like maybe you go to Sunday church, Christmas service with your family or something once a year or something like that. If you are a churchgoer or you've ever gone to a church, like when you show up at church, you show up one way. When you show up at McDonald's, you show up a different way. And when you show up at a strip club, you show up a different way. When you show up at a football game, you show up a different way, right? When you show up like for a funeral, you show up in a different way. And so, in that way, social media is not that different from real life. Like, but it's important to remember that it's all BS, right? Like, it's like you're going to show up in a different way for different people in different situations in different circumstances, no matter what, you know? And so the question is, what's going to be the best way that you can show up to serve your people most effectively? That's really the question you need to ask yourself. How can you show up and be the best leader in your space that you can possibly be?
At the end of the day, it's all BS.
At the end of the day, it's all BS. MassScotland.com/early-bird, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you want to build your email list, you can join our early bird email list at www.massscotland.com/early-bird. You can opt in there. You can join our Facebook group, The Art of Email Marketing, if you're not already a member. And if you'd like to be considered for my email marketing, email empire mentorship program, we can have a conversation about that and see if it would be a good choice or not for you if you want to grow your business. Brian, anything else you have to say before we wrap up this broadcast?
Get off social media and go build your list and email your list.
Or at least if you're going to be on social media, be doing something that's going to drive to building your list.
Yeah, like a live stream.
You know what I mean? At least use it as a traffic source, not as a waste of time.
Right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow. Over and out.